Hey there, Lasso and leadership fans. Jason here. And to set up today's episode of Beard's Book Club on the Lassoing Leadership podcast, I'm here to introduce Phebe Trotman and her book, Never Quit on a Bad Day. On this episode, Garth and I have an extended conversation with Phebe about some of her life challenges, about things she's learned about vulnerability and resilience and perseverance and dedication. I trust you're going to love this conversation, and everybody's going to take a thing or two from it with respect to leadership, perseverance, and what it means to lead the Lasso way. Hope you enjoyed the show.
Lassoing leadership, sharp and true. Beard's Book Club got wisdom for you. Turn the pages, let the stories flow. Unpacking lessons as we grow.
Hey folks, welcome back to Lassoing Leadership, the podcast where we talk about leadership, one of the most tangled up, complex things to do as a human. We're inspired by the kinder and gentler leadership of Ted Lasso, but now we are all the way on season 3. I'm Garth Nichols and joined always by my co-host, Jason Rogers. Jason, good to see you.
Great to be here, Garth. Season 3 of our podcast is all about leaning into experts and what they've written about leadership. Today, we're thrilled, beyond thrilled, to have a very special guest, Phebe Trotman, author of Never Quit on a Bad Day. Phebe joined us in season 1 of our podcast as well, and we were really excited to have you back. She brings a wealth of experience as a former professional athlete and a deep commitment to fostering resilience within community. But Phebe, as we said, you're not a stranger to the show.
Yeah, absolutely not, Jason. We first met Phebe way back during our live podcast at the Case Leadership Institute in Vancouver, and immediately asked her to come onto our podcast in season 1. We had to talk to this incredible human. So we'll link that amazing conversation in our show notes, okay, Jason, so that leaders can go back and remind us of that Case Leadership Institute. It was really good. But back in season 1, she shared her insights on leadership, especially her emphasis on embracing challenges and maintaining perseverance, what that meant. Like, the stories are inspiring. Your purpose, like your life purpose, Phebe, is inspiring. Today, we're doing more of the same, but we're turning the mic over to Phebe to tap into that wisdom a little bit more, tap into that experience a little bit more. So Phebe, a sincere welcome back to the show. Can you reintroduce yourself to our listeners?
Absolutely. Well, first, thank you guys for having me back, and congratulations, season 3. I'm just really grateful and honored. I love what you guys are doing, and I'm a big Ted Lasso fan too, and I'm a fan of you guys as well, and I'm just grateful that we connected
Phoebe.
last year and to keep growing and learning, and so thank you and congratulations. Well, you kind of introduced me already a little bit. So my name's Phebe Trotman. I am a speaker, a coach, a retired professional Hall of Fame athlete, and author of the Never Quit on a Bad Day Inspiring Stories of Resilience book series. And so I'm grateful and honored to have some time with you guys and just to be able to share a little bit of some of my life lessons and how I've learned from them and how I've grown from them.
Phebe, there's got to be a story behind the title of that book. What is it?
It's really about, it's interesting because I heard that saying many years ago, and I realized how I've just grown into it and how many challenges that I've had where that's just popped in my mind about never quitting on a bad day. Because one of the things it's life, right? There's going to be bad moments. There's going to be bad hours. There's going to be sometimes it turns into a bad day. However, it's in those tough times when we push through that we grow the most. I think we learn the most, and you can find beautiful things even in the tough times. And so never quitting on a bad day is really all about that, pushing through, getting to the other side, and never quit being who you're destined to be in a lot of ways too, because there are going to be those challenges that might rock you a little bit. How do you refocus on who you are, keep showing up, and keep pushing through and working through those days and moments?
And from a personal perspective, yesterday, actually, I was talking to somebody whose daughter is now going to be a national level rower. And we're talking about athletics and leadership and how high-level athletes often are really great leaders when they leave sport. I guess the direct question would be, Phebe, what do you think you learned about leadership while being a professional athlete, and how has it informed who you are today?
Well, you learn so much. Well, number one, we have choices, right? You can choose to learn through the good leaders and the ones who weren't, you might not have aligned with, if you will. And I think beautiful thing about soccer is you have this community of people that you can learn and grow from. And so through my coaches, through my teammates, and you just learn how to navigate challenges. First, I think one of the most powerful lessons though is you have to learn to lead yourself, right? You have to decide to lead yourself first, and how are you going to show up? And then through that, you continue to grow and evolve, and your style changes. And it's funny, I saw an interview through the Whitecaps years ago. I found these old VHS tapes in short version and converted them. And I found this interview and I'm watching it and I'm like, who is this 22-year-old? Like, just to see how much I've grown. And it's all because of the experiences that I've had. Again, the great ones, winning the national championships and also losing in a final. And how do you bounce back from that? And how do you show up? Having a great game one time and then not having such a great game. And how do you, again, recover from that mentally, physically, and just putting all those pieces together? And the other piece of it that I'll say is one of the beautiful things about a sport and just communities in general, when you share a common goal, even if you may not, quote unquote, get along with all your teammates, you do, because you have a common goal. You want to win that game, win that championship. And so finding how to navigate some relationships that might be a little bit challenging, yet focusing on the good that that person brings to the team to accomplish your common goal.
Amazing. Phebe, you've mentioned a couple of things. So you said there are going to be bad moments which turn into bad hours, maybe even a bad day, maybe even a bad week. And you said, but when you push through and come out the other side, you're more fulfilled. You have more experience, and as you say, you grow and you change. So you've got pushing through, navigating challenges, leading yourself, how you bounce back, how you recover, all of these things. But it's so individual in terms of how you bring this together. And so you said, as an athlete within a community, you've got a lot of support. Talk to us a little bit about what pushing through a bad day kind of looks, sounds, and feels like for Phebe Trotman.
Oh, great question. You know what? It depends on the day. There's multiple things. And I always encourage people to have a toolbox. And that's sort of what was the motivation behind writing the books, was to be able to share some of those things that I do and other people that I've looked up to that they do to push through those seasons. And, a big piece of it is community. We talked about team, and I'm just so fortunate that I have a great family support system. So I can reach out to people. I have a great, I've been very intentional about making sure I have those people who, when I'm having a rough time, I can call them and they can help me shift my focus. They can find something because we're humans, right? We're going to get emotional. There's going to be moments where, even though okay, I should pause and find something to be grateful for. I can listen to a playlist of music that's going to inspire me. I can go work out because that'll change my state and my energy. We can have all those things. And sometimes you're still you need that friend who can be like, okay, I get it. Have your 1 minute vent. And now let's flip it around. And so that's one thing I'm just so grateful for, having a great circle of people that I can rely on. And I just encourage people to be so intentional about that. I did a training the other day, and I was talking about it. I'm like, you want the friend who's going to find the fire extinguisher and help you put out the fire, not the friend who's going to put gasoline on it and blow it up. Although those friends, sometimes you do need them, just not in a case where you're going, you might be having that tough time, right? You want to really work through that. And I think resilience is how quickly can you shorten the time between the challenge and kind of working through it and bouncing back.
So Phebe, I love that. You need, you have to have a toolbox of skills, support system, all these other things to help shift your focus. Two other friends of the show, Nick Caniglio and Marnie Stockman, they write about everyone should try and develop their own personal board of directors, like people who you can go to, right? If you can talk us through your support system, what are some of the archetypes? You don't have to name specific people, but who you said you also have someone who can fan the flames, but also put out the flames. Who else would you recommend leaders have on their own personal board of directors?
I think it's important to have people who are further along on their leadership journey than you on your board of directors, so that you can learn from them, right? There's that saying, if you're the smartest person in the room, find a new room to join, right? And so I think that's a really important thing is, and I'm grateful because I have like big sister mentors and big brother mentors who are, yes, that some of them are older in age. It doesn't have to be an age thing though. It can just be a journey thing. And I think that is something that we can, and even just that older generation. And, I grew up with incredible aunts and uncles, and they weren't necessarily all blood relatives. But that being said, they were part of our family network. And they're just like their wisdom because they've gone through some stuff, right? And then I think it's also important to have some people be the older sibling, if you will, and have some people in your board of directors. Maybe they're a little bit they're starting their journey a little bit, because then you get fresh perspective too, where you can get that insight from someone who is just coming in with all these different ideas, because they're new to that journey too. So I think that's really important. And then you really need those. I'm a high energy, go, go, go. I want the person who's super just like grounded, and I can talk to them and they can just be like, okay, let's take a step back, right? And have a different viewpoint. So I think those are some of the ones that come top of mind. I'm sure there's more we could flesh out, but when I'm just thinking right now of, when I'm going through stuff, and, we shared a little bit some of the stuff I've been going through, those are the people who pop in my mind. Is just kind of been so grateful to have their support to help me navigate, for sure.
Beautiful. Love it. Thank you.
Now, Phoebe, your book is a collection of stories of, challenge, really. Like they're moments of intense vulnerability that you've drawn out from names we've known or probably should know along the way. What was your secret to, having these people in your circle tell their stories of vulnerability? How did you get them to share so openly?
I'm so grateful to my contributors for both books, because they said yes. It really was just when I decided I was going to write this book series, and I started with the first book, I started just making a list of all the people who I have felt inspired by, who I've felt have a story to share, who are kind of servant leaders, who love to give, who love to mentor and share and just kind of educate. And so I started just making a list of these people. And then I realized, oh, wow, this is bigger than just one book. And that's sort of how the idea of a planned series came to life. And then I reached out to them. I shared the title for the book. I shared that my personal connection to them, or it was through someone, and just saying, I believe you have a story that can help people. And that's what the mission and vision for this book series is really to inspire, to educate, to let people know they're not alone. And I'm just grateful they said yes. And then it was the fun process of like the interviews, and really I just kind of asked the questions, and because everybody's definition of a bad day, using air quotes, or a bad moment or bad season is different. And that's what was so beautiful about it. And I always challenge everyone when they hear the title or they see a t-shirt or a water bottle with the saying on, what does never quit on a bad day mean to you? Because for everybody, they'll have a different definition of it and a different feeling of what is bad for them, right?
So Phoebe, let's I'm hoping you'll say yes to this. And I think you've really articulated the fact that like having the audacity of hope really does turn up really interesting, stories and opportunities in our life. That audacity to go out to your network and have a conversation and ask for them to support you in that. So I'm going to turn it around on you, Phoebe. Can you tell us your story of never quit on a bad day? What comes to mind first for you, for our listeners to hear?
Oh, it's interesting. I guess I would say the last couple of years have been extremely challenging. I'm going to get very personal, and hopefully tears don't start streaming. In the sense that my mom, I was fortunate enough to be my mom's primary caregiver during her battle with dementia. And it's the timing of writing these books and releasing these books. I truly believe in hindsight was so much about me for the journey and the challenges that we were navigating as a family. And just, there were so many moments where I would literally say to myself, never quit, never quit. And what I mean by that in that particular is like never quit being this loving daughter who was blessed with incredible parents, and being able to show up for them and show up in kindness. And the moments where I was like, oh my gosh, is this really like what, when I was just like lost in a lot of ways, taking time and going back to the book and the lessons in a lot of the books where it was just a moment of like gratitude. I'm grateful that I get to have this time with my mom. I get to have this opportunity to care for her, as you know, if the roles reversed, and and I get to, and changing that language. And that was a big lesson from the first book in the book series, talking about how a shift in language and a shift in perspective, and just repeating myself, never quit, keep going, even with goals that I set for myself, to keep working towards those goals and keep showing up. And so it's been, and even now after, unfortunately, sadly, she passed in end of last year, and just keeping to remind myself, like, never quit being Phebe Trotman. Who is Phebe Trotman? Let's go, keep moving forward, even on those tough days as well.
Well, let's go, Phoebe. We're so lucky to have you as a part of this community, and our listeners are as well. And thanks for your vulnerability. And I can tell you that you will have inspired many of our listeners to never quit as they're going through their own personal challenges. And just hearing your voice and your journey has been really impactful for me, and I'm sure will be for others.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. And what I love about your book and the structure of the book, and what we love about you, and and for sharing that story with us, Phoebe, is this notion that when you have a bad day, you're like, in one way, you're sort of flexing a muscle, and you're building that muscle memory. And so you can then be that mentor or that friend, play the role that on their board of directors, so to speak, because you have that wisdom and expertise that has come from that bad day. Can you talk a little bit about the value of bad days in leadership?
Well, I believe the bad days, it gives you perspective on the good days, and I think gives you a chance to really appreciate some of those great moments that you can have. I believe the bad days help us grow, right? Like, you think about, compare it to weight training, right? You need to put some weight on the barbell if you want to gain muscle. So it's part of it. And the more muscle you want to build, you have to be consistent, and you have to train, and there's going to be resistance. And that is also part of life. And how we get stronger is by navigating through those challenges and pushing through them. And I think the beautiful thing, as you share, is now we can help other people. And it is something that I believe the more we do, it helps other people, especially realize you're not alone. You're not alone going through. There is someone else who's gone through something that you've gone through, and in some cases, probably worse. And so how do you find that moment to be grateful for, even when you're in that challenge? Because there are so many people who are going through really, really tough stuff, and they're still showing up with a smile. They're still showing kindness to other people. They're still finding things to be grateful for, and they're still making an impact in the lives of people around them too.
Phoebe, I love all of that. It speaks to me in that sense of power mindset, the power of purpose, the values you're talking about, and the power of connection. I think, and that is leadership in a lot of respects, is how do we harness those things to continue to improve? And I think, as we think about this, the namesake of our podcast is Ted Lasso, and we're thinking an awful lot about, was Ted a great leader? And so, we want to take the opportunity to put it back to each of our authors in this season, and really ask the question: do you think Ted was a great leader? Where's his strength? Maybe where's his weakness? What, if you were on the jury, would you be voting in favor of good leadership or not? Phoebe, what do you think?
I think Ted's a great leader. And the reason being is I feel like Ted made everybody around him better human beings in whatever lane they were in. Everybody grew, everybody evolved. You saw Ted go through his own very challenging situation, and eventually got help. And I think that's a big part of being a talented leader and impactful leader, is realizing, listen, just because you're a great leader doesn't mean you have it all together all the time. And there's times where you need to get help. And I think that was one of the things that I love the show, and watching the show multiple times. In terms of the seasons, I watched the 3 times all seasons, is just that growth and how he just impacted everybody around. Yet he did it in different ways with each person, knowing who they are, and he just brought out the best, I think, in everybody.
Love it. Love it. I want to just read something back to you, Phoebe. It's actually from your book. But I think it's important for our leaders to understand because I love this part where you say, in sports, we need to share about the days we get cut from the team, the days we don't want to do the extra training, the days we don't want to work out, the days we want to quit. We need to start sharing about the challenging moments and frustrating days when we ask ourselves, is it even worth it? More importantly, we need to share what we did or didn't do to push through those days. We all know people have tough days, but really, how hard are those days? And what, how, and why did we keep going, or why did they keep going? And I love that because often we hear great stories about failure, but only after those people have reached massive success. And that's the dominant narrative here. And what I love about your stories that you've created is that you are bringing people who have, obviously they're still successful, right? But how the learning was part of that journey, and that there are moments that like we can really connect with. So I mean, I'm a triathlete, and there's sometimes in the deep dark days of February where I'm like, I just don't want to do this, and I look over at everyone else in my cycling group, and I'm like, oh, they're doing it. I guess I got to do it. But I love that, you bring that sports analogy, but talk to us a little bit about how your book applies to, I don't know, education, or like if you're in business, or just relationships in life.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the beautiful things about really with both books, if someone goes in and reads them with the lens of how does this apply to my life, that's what I want to encourage people to do. Especially like there's so many people, well, I'm not an athlete. Does the Accomplished Athletes book, like the question you asked, like, what are you going to get out of it? And I think you're going to get out of it whatever you want to get out of it. Number one, how does this apply to your life? How can you take a lesson of someone getting cut from a team into your life? Well, that's rejection. How do you navigate rejection? How do you navigate disappointment? How do you navigate feeling not good enough? And what do you do with that? And if you take the lesson of, okay, well, you do the extra work, you focus on that goal of why are you like, yeah, Garth, why are you going to go out on a rainy, cold day to train? Well, even if you don't enjoy it right now while you're doing the training, it's because you have a goal, right? You have a competition, you have something you're working towards. And I encourage people, and that's one of the things that I'm so grateful. I've had a lot of reviews that have come out of people reading the books, is they've started to set goals again, and they started to dream again. And I think that is so important for us as humans to have something that gets you excited, that you can work towards, and that will propel you and help you move through some of the tough times, because you're focusing on, well, I'm doing this for a reason. I'm working through this to get to whatever it is that you're looking to accomplish. And so that is something that anyone can pull out of the books, is how do you stay on track when you're feeling a little bit off track?
And I think too, how do you anticipate the bad days? And so I think I shared this with you. I can't remember if I shared it on the podcast when you're on it, but I gifted your book to my son Spencer. And it's, slowly has seeped into him that there are going to be bad days. And sometimes for a teenager, this is hard to deal with. Like, what do you mean? My life's not just going to be great every day? But so he has started to set goals as well. And it does manifest itself in sport. And I just think it's a wonderful piece. Like your book is a wonderful piece to say, not only how do I respond to bad days, but how do I anticipate that there will be bad days, to frame my mindset going into a project at work, going into like building new relationships in a new place of work, what have you. So I really appreciated that about your book.
Absolutely. And thank you for saying that. Sorry, Jason. I was just going to say, and that is something, you look back as a teenager and think about our bad days as teenagers. But when we were a teenager, it was like, oh my gosh, the world is coming down, everything. Yet I would love to have some of my little teenage boy drama problems again, like bring it on. But it's all perspective. And I think, and thank you for sharing that. And that is something that I do want younger generation to realize, like there are going to be challenges. You can work through it. You're going to build that muscle, and then there might be bigger challenges down the road, but you've gained the muscle to be able to carry that load and work through that. And then you also build a community around you that can also help carry that load too.
Yeah.
Now, Phoebe, you've undoubtedly inspired people to take action, to be vulnerable in this conversation, but I hope you've inspired them to pick up your book or come and find you. So can you let our listeners know where they can find you and where they can find your books, and how they can reach you?
Absolutely. Thank you. So my website is neverquitonabadday.com. So you can head over there. You can actually get a free chapter as well. You can download a free chapter from the book. The books are available on most online major retailers. So Amazon, Barnes and Noble, there's Indigo chapters. So you can check them out there. And the other question, and then social media, Never Quit on a Bad Day, Instagram, as well as Facebook.
You're such a ray of sunshine, Phoebe, and such an inspiration. We love having you on the show. I can talk to you once a week just to get a lift. And I hope people are loving this conversation. And for our listeners, we like to leave you with a leadership challenge each week. And this week, we're just asking that you reflect on how you embody resilience in your own life. I think that mindset and that gymnastic of thinking about resilience in your life is really important. So whether it's through small acts of perseverance or supporting others in their journey, your actions can inspire change. And Phoebe, certainly your actions have inspired change in others. So you can inspire us by liking or subscribing, or, giving us a little bit of feedback. But nevertheless, we really appreciate having you here, Phoebe.
Thanks. Yeah, thank you so much. And this is great, and it's reminding me of a lot of things that I have to remind myself about bad days. So really appreciate it. And thanks for sharing your own bad day with us, Phoebe. It means a lot. So we like to wrap up with our tagline. Do you mind wrapping this up for us, Phoebe?
I would love to. Until next time, keep leading the Lasso way.
All right. Thanks everybody. Thanks, Phoebe.
Grab your coffee, grab your seat. It's time to learn, it's time to meet. Garth and Jason setting the tone. Leadership lessons to take back home. Lassoing leadership sharp and true. Beard's Book Club got wisdom for you. Turn the pages, let the stories flow. Unpacking lessons as we grow. Keep leading the lasso way. Together we'll grow stronger every day. So plug in your headphones and let's start the